Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Carter. I love talking about movies, horror movies, comic books, and superheroes. And today, I got to check out a movie that's been on my radar since it premiered at Fantastic Fest last year, and that is The Last Stop in Yuma County. The Last Stop in Yuma County is written, directed, and edited by Francis Galluppi. It stars Jim Cummings, Richard Brake, and Michael Abbott Jr., and the cinematography is done by Mac Fiskin. So, have you guys seen The Last Stop in Yuma County? If you did, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you not love it? Were you excited for it? Without giving too much away, The Last Stop in Yuma County is a bottle movie, meaning it takes place almost entirely, or sometimes entirely, in one location. And in this instance, it takes place at The Last Stop in Yuma County. It's a last gas station that is before 100 miles of no gas stations, nothing. There's a gas station, a diner, and that's it. And travelers come in, and there's no gas. They have to wait for the fuel truck, and they all get in this diner, and a bunch of characters come in, some more dangerous than others, and it all escalates from there. And I really don't want to say too much, because I went into this movie almost as blind as possible, which I would highly recommend. It is so much fun to go into this movie not knowing what is going to happen, not knowing who is who's good, who's bad, and you get to find out as the film goes on. It's not like it tries to hold any information from you. It's very direct, it gives it to you up front, but I really enjoyed that aspect. And going into the positives of The Last Stop in Yuma County, I thought the direction and writing in this were very, very strong. I thought that the idea, the core concept of keeping these people all in this one location was extremely interesting, made a ton of sense, and you can just really easily see how it would all escalate from there. There's people who are desperate to get out of there, but they can't. They have to wait. There's cops that come in to get coffee. There could be travelers, going back and forth. And then there's Jim Cummings as the knife salesman, just this below average guy, very timid guy, just wanting to hang out, sell his knives, and get home to see his daughter. And so much of this movie revolves around the idea and the belief that they are stuck there. Sometimes movies can really pull it off, sometimes they can't. This is a movie that easily pulls it off. Immediately you can understand why they're stuck there. There's nothing for 100 miles, the gas is completely gone, they're waiting for the fuel truck, no one has gas, so they can't really go anywhere. And right from the get-go, you just are engrossed in these characters and their lives. Jim Cummings is so good. He's so timid in this, and he's very interesting, someone that you kind of pity and empathize with, and he's just kind of in over his head. Then you have Jocelin Donahue as the waitress Charlotte. She was probably my favorite character in this movie. She was someone who is very brave, but is also, again, like Jim Cummings' character, in this horrible situation, and you get to see how each character reacts to this and how they would solve any issues that would arise. Richard Brake from Barbarian from 2022, which was probably my favorite horror film of that year, is also extremely great. He's very menacing in this, very calm, cool, calculated, and just feels like he always has control over the situation. You don't ever feel like he is in over his head. He is the guy that is just always in control, always knowing what to do. And I found just the character dynamics of this to be very entertaining and enjoyable. A large part of the film is just people in this diner, people coming in and out, people interacting, and the whole film rests on the shoulders of those performances and the writing between those characters. How would they react if a cop came in? How would they react if more travelers came in? How would they react if something else happened? I'm trying not to give anything away. And it was very interesting to see just how well Francis Galluppi was able to write the dynamics between those characters and able to write this situation to where it's totally believable, you're completely engaged, and it's intense as well. Something that's very hard to do and very hard to balance, and I was impressed the whole film through. I thought the editing and the quick pace of the film was great as well. It definitely is a little bit of a slow burn, but it's only 90 minutes long, so it can't really be that slow. And the structure of this film I found very interesting, actually. I didn't think it would work, but then as I watched the film, everything progresses. The special effects here are very, very limited, but I thought they looked great when they were used. The setting of the hot Arizona desert is fantastic, and the cinematography and set decoration and everything around the design of this film adds to just that brutal beating down heat and hopelessness of the Arizona desert to where you're like, wow, this sucks. Like, they are totally screwed. They're in for a bad ride. And I loved just how everything kind of added together to this very atmospheric feel. This movie isn't quite perfect though, and so going into the mixed, I thought maybe the biggest mixed here would be the tone of the film. This is a movie that has a lot of humor, a lot of very realistic dialogue. Jim Cummings' character especially, he's just very scared a lot of the time, and so when someone asks him something, he'll just answer extremely honestly. And it can come off as funny, it can come off as humorous. However, I do think that they maybe should have toned it down going into the second half of the film, because the second half of the film is a lot more serious, and I think that they could have toned down quite a bit of the just kind of zany characters. It was trying to be like a Tarantino, like Pulp Fiction diner scene, or The Hateful Eight with how crazy that gets. But I think that the tone wasn't handled as well. So as much praise as I gave the writing earlier, I do wish that maybe they wrote out some of the jokes or edited out some of the jokes, some of the weirder, kind of more out there lines, and just kept it straightforward, extreme thriller in the last half. I think I would have enjoyed that a little more. I said before, it is only 90 minutes. The third act does feel a little overlong. It's where you can really feel the panic of certain characters, and I liked that aspect, but I also didn't feel urgent. It felt like there was big gaps where it was like not as urgent as it could have been, and there are some character decisions which aren't exactly like set up throughout the film. Maybe bits and pieces of little dialogue, but you don't see the change. You don't see the actions of the characters when this character makes a mistake and maybe they change their mind. It's understandable. It's a human thing to do, but I think it could have been set up just a little better. Now, with all that being said, I really did enjoy the film. I will sing its praises all day long, but I do think there are those crucial little kind of mixed to negative aspects. I do think that the third act is the weakest by far. The first two acts are so engaging, so interesting, and then the third act comes and it kind of takes a little bit of steam, a little bit of wind out of the sails, unfortunately. However, I felt it wrapped up very strongly in those last 5 minutes, so. And Francis Galluppi got offered the job to do a new Evil Dead movie. I love Evil Dead, regardless of who was making it. I will be there day one, but now I know it's this guy. I'm actually very excited. I feel like he handled a lot of the more bleak stuff in this film really well, and Evil Dead is bleak, so I'm excited to see what he does with that. Overall, I'm going to give The Last Stop in Yuma County an 8 out of 10, and I enjoyed it overall. So, as always, guys, thank you so much. I'm so close to 500. I did an Invincible Season 2 in-depth review. In classic Carter fashion, I was a month late for that, so I apologize. And keep an eye out for my horror movie video coming soon. My camera stopped recording in the last 5 seconds. Thank you so much for everything. As always, have a great rest of your day.